Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, the medical-grade skincare technology that helps your skin breathe without breaking it down. Today, we're exploring a trend that's gone from playful to, quite frankly, problematic and may now require a legal response. We're diving into skincare hazard zones. Are beauty aisles and TikTok putting your child at risk? And this is more than a cultural critique. It's now a matter of public policy. California lawmakers have introduced Assembly Bill 2491, widely known as the Sephora Kids Bill, after a viral CBS headline. The bill proposes to restrict how active ingredient skincare is marketed to children under 13 years old. That includes ingredients like retinol, salicylic acid, glycolic acid, and even vitamin C. Potent actives designed to target aging, acne, and hyperpigmentation in adults. This comes in response to a surge in preteen skincare obsession. And according to Common Sense Media, 58% of kids under 13 are using multi-step skincare routines. And McKinsey reports that Gen Alpha is now driving $500 million in beauty-related spending each year. But dermatologists and pediatricians are waving red flags, citing premature barrier damage, ingredient overload, and risky anxiety around self-image. So where do we draw the line between self-care and self-sabotage? Well, to help us navigate this crucial moment are two respected voices shaping the future of ethical beauty. Lana Kerr is the founder of Lumisk Skincare and visionary behind CO2Lift.com. She's redefining skincare through regenerative science, not trendy confusion. Her brand is trusted both by clinics and consumers, and she's here to offer clarity, not fear. Dr. Masoud Saman is a double board-certified facial plastic surgeon and the force behind at Saman Plastic Surgery. He trends extremely well on social media. He's also known as the rhinoplasty guy. Dr. Saman's practice is rooted in harmony, ethics, and surgical excellence. He's also a father of 3 daughters and a fierce advocate for protecting youth from aesthetic harm disguised as, yes, self-care. Now let's go deep and help parents, brands, and young minds find a healthier path forward. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hi, Zen. Great to be here.
Hi,
So
Zen.
excited to have you back, Lana. Welcome, Dr. Saman.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
All right, Lana, let's chat the tween skincare surge. So you've built a brand rooted in science and skin health. What's your take on this sudden explosion of preteens layering adult-grade actives? And how do parents need to understand, more importantly, what do parents need to understand about the biological risks?
Yeah, it's kind of scary, Zen, what's happening today, because those products which you mentioned, or those ingredients, retinols, HAs, alpha hydroxys, those are meant for more mature skin. So, when they're used by younger people, it can create damages to the skin barrier, increase sensitivity. It can even provide, long-term damage to the skin. So parents really need to walk through that path in a very different way. They need to think about protection rather than correction.
I love that. So, Dr. Salman, let's chat when filters shape surgery. So you're seeing the long-term results in your practice. How has this early exposure to filtered aesthetics and skincare routines affected what young adults expect from their faces and from surgeons like yourself?
Well, we're now seeing more and more young adults, or even before that, tweens and teens that come in requesting to look like a particular filter or a particular celebrity, kind of signaling that they're no longer happy with how they look, with their self-image, which then explains why there's so much depression and anxiety in this age group. I see it every day, and we have to turn down more patients than we accept simply because the requests are unrealistic. They come from the wrong place. Look, the entire industry of plastic surgery should be, and for a long time has been, based on ethical plastic surgery. And if we now try to accept requests that are based on things that are not achievable, then we've lost our minds.
Yeah, that's a sobering reality check. We're not just dealing with surface damage, we're dealing with distorted expectations baked in by age 15. It's really, really unsettling as a parent to watch this unfold. And I'm sure for you on the receiving end, who's getting all of these requests as a father, it's probably making your blood boil.
Absolutely. look, what's happening is that patients are after these perfect symmetries that are not attainable. They want absolute glass skin. Nature disagrees. There's hormonal changes. There's changes that the skin is naturally supposed to go through. When the hormones hit, you're supposed to produce more sebum, which then protects your skin during that time. To for example, expose a child's skin, which has a very thin stratum corneum, the superficial layer of that skin, to glycolic acids, for example, would have an extremely drying effect because they don't produce as much sebum as a 20-year-old.
Right.
So there is a lot of nuances that we need to talk about. And I know these days we as parents really want to be best friends with our kids. And I get that. It's very difficult as a father too, but sometimes we just need to step it up and parent.
Yep. All right, Lana, let's get practical. A little bit of a breakdown from parents here. For parents walking through the mainstream beauty stores, what ingredients should they steer their kid away from entirely? And what are some more safe, supportive alternatives?
Definitely the retinols, the AHAs, like the glycolic acid that was just mentioned, lactic acid, salicylic acid, even strong ingredients for acne. They should, unless it's prescribed by their dermatologist. That's not what they want to be looking at right now. Again, we talk about protection. So parents should think more of, gentle cleansers. They should think about sunscreen protection, mineral sunscreen-based protection. They should think about hydration. I like the Cetaphils. They're mild.
I completely agree. We need to stick to not talk about prevention so much because there's nothing happening there. Protection, just like it was mentioned earlier. We need to protect, and you need a moisturizer, a basic gentle moisturizer. You need sunscreen. You need hydrated skin. And then the rest of it comes down to go out and play, go meet people, go have fun, and let kids be kids. Yep. And beyond that, let's not introduce adult insecurities in children who don't need to be insecure about their skin. Right. I mean, we all want to look good. We know this is thousands and thousands of years of humanity, whether it was piercings or tattoos or whatever it was, there was some effort we made always to look good. Yep. But to introduce that at such a young age, I think is just unethical.
I agree.
Agreed. Now let's chat the medical view on the bill. So California's proposed bill is a major move, but it also has critics. So from your perspective, Dr. Saman, does restricting skincare marketing to kids make sense? And where should regulation begin and end?
Well, I think, yes, it's a nice starting point. But I think parenting matters more because who's to say that the mom's not going to give in to the pressure? And that pressure is real. Trust me. I have 3 daughters and I deal with it every day. And I'm figuring it out all myself and far from having figured it out. But the pressure is real and they don't want to be isolated. And as kids, being banished, being isolated is social death. And so they want what their friend or their kid influencer said they should get. So if we introduce the law, it's a nice starting point. But what's to say that the parent won't buy it for them anyway? I think the most important thing is to empower parents to step up and parent and say
it's
no.
like the cell phone ban.
Yes.
Absolutely ridiculous. Or the social media ban. Like who's actually enforcing this stuff? Now, that's a grounded response. It's not about panic. It's about boundaries and protecting young minds before they become adult. Patience is extremely critical. Now, Lana, your brand educates versus markets. So it's trusted by doctors around the world, clinically researched, clinically verified, trusted by consumers alike, pre and post surgery. How do you continue to grow while making sure you're educating, not exploiting young consumers in this influencer-heavy climate?
Well, thanks for that, Zen. I think, as you mentioned, our brand really is grounded by science, but most importantly, safety. And you said the right thing. It's education. Education is necessary for people to understand what to use on their skin. And every phase of life has different challenges that we need to address. And skin has challenges depending on your age. So I think it's about education. I know that in our brand, we really are about addressing the fundamental skin health. So hydration is a big factor for us. And so our CO2 Lift product is something that works at every age. I mean, a lot of dermatologists recommend it for very young children, whereas our mousse, which has retinols and all these actives, is not something that I would promote to a young teenager.
Right.
So it's about education, and as was mentioned by Dr. Saman, it's about empowerment through education.
Yes. And you're also not misleading, right? Because your packaging is not fruity and bubbly and misleading and geared towards a child, right? That instant gratification of all of the things that graphically speak to them. And these brands are guilty of that. They're saying we're not marketing to kids and we have all these, you know, retinols and acids in our ingredients, and yet we have these fruity, bubbly, cute packages that are 100% marketed to kids. So they are complicit, and I think it does begin with integrity behind the brand's CEO. And so I take my hat off to you because you keep your packaging marketed to a very specific demographic, not insinuating that this should be used by anyone other than the demographic that it clinically should be used by and verified by. So yeah, it comes full circle. Now, Dr. Saman, speaking to your daughters, you've said before that being a surgeon is only part of your job. Being a father is what keeps you centered. How do you talk to your daughters about beauty and confidence and the noise online?
It's hard. It's the hardest job I've ever had. It's much harder than any surgery I performed, that's for sure. I have three daughters, and they're all in different phases. One is 10, one is 8, the other's 5. But the 10-year-old and the 8-year-old for sure keep me on my toes. And, you know, we try to stay honest. We try to have conversations. I try to model the behavior that you are worthy and you are accepted regardless of how your skin shines today or what product you're using today. We try to keep them grounded and realize that self-worth comes from within and not just a reflection on this ever-scrolling window and mirror that will always tell you you're not pretty enough. We keep them away from social media. We try to keep them away from these kinds of influences, but it's really, really hard. And those parents, your listeners right now, might be listening to me and saying that on the one hand that their children are never on the screens, or on the other hand that they let them use screens all the time. We need to strike a balance. We need to figure out what works. But one thing is for sure, this anxiety that this generation is experiencing has to do with the fact that they're always being presented with something that they feel if they don't have it, they're left out, and they're left out of social circles. The ethics of this lies not only with the parents, with me, with other parents, with my wife, and all fathers and mothers, but also with the CEOs, also with the society at large, with the government to some extent, with the stores that carry these products, with social media companies. All of us have lost our minds. We need to just come back to realize that children need to be on their bikes and
Right.
and go and have a smoothie.
Yeah. Now, Lana, safe picks for the curious tween. So if a tween insists on buying something from the beauty aisle, what categories or types? I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Do you have like a specific brand that you love, or certain categories or types of products you feel comfortable recommending that won't harm their skin?
Again, you're talking about for young girls, and I don't have any daughters, but for my nieces, they like, I would get botanical masks.
Yes.
Something like that. I mean, we talk about sunscreen, we talk about light moisturizers. Again, I'm not that type of shopper, but I know like La Roche-Posay, they have a nice line that has safe things for young people, young girls, young boys. Even though I'm a boy mom and my kids are older now, I was really introducing them to skincare and taking care of their skin from they were 9 and 10. So, but again, it's about skin health, which is very different from the fads and the craze that you're going to see on TikTok, which wasn't around when they were younger.
Yeah. And the message needs to be on mirrors, phones, and in every household that, like, you truly have to look within. You can't just compare yourself to what you see on social media, right? Yeah. It's truly it's at a tipping point. Now, if you could erase the top 3 myths younger patients believe about beauty, what would they be, and how can we help parents reframe those ideas at home?
Good questions, Anne. I think the number one myth that I see is that patients are in search of perfect symmetry. There is no such thing. There's no human, animal, leaf, mountain, or anything that is perfectly symmetric. And we have found this obsession with perfect symmetry. And a lot of it is because a lot of the assets online are digitally manipulated. They are made to represent that. In fact, just a few years ago, I started an artistic social artistic project called Face by Face New York, where myself and my team would go to Central Park and we would photograph thousands of individuals. And they would tell us a little bit about their background. And we published this. And we look, and where are these tents? Where are these bombshells we see on social media? They do not exist.
Yeah.
And our children just think that, everybody's doing something. Maybe it's this product or this nose clip or this thing that pulls the hair or whatever. I assure you, most others are also, just like you, just scrolling along. Nobody's doing anything. Stop falling for these things. Live your life. Take it easy.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was 3, but I think that's
no,
plenty.
we need more surgeons who reshape
Yes, I
minds
love
as well
that.
as faces. So thank you. Now, Lana, what's new at CO2 Lift? Your product line continues to evolve. What new launches or breakthroughs are you most excited about, and where is CO2 Lift expanding next?
Well, we're coming out with a new vitamin C, not for your daughters yet. But I love it. It's really going to be, it's a top grade. There's no water included in there. But our focus still is on the carboxy. That's something that can be used really through any age. I'm really excited about what's happening internationally for us, what's happening post-surgically for us. One of our biggest focus right now is really helping surgeons, and we're quickly becoming the gold standard in post-care in that arena. But it requires a lot of education. I foresee for the next 3 to 5 years, that's really our focus on educating, and then also in the women's health. In terms of intimacy, that's still a big passion project for me. That women recognize that, aging is more than what we see on our face and our neck. It affects our intimate skin. It affects our quality of life. And so that's still a big part of what we're doing in educating women in that area and show what are the solutions that they can do to feel good in their skin regardless of their age.
Now, Dr. Saman, surgery, what's advancing in facial surgery? So in your world, technology moves so fast. Are there any innovations in rhinoplasty or even facial surgery that are improving outcomes and really, truly reshaping your field?
When I first started facial plastic surgery, I was doing it all. I was doing cancer surgery, reconstructive surgery, trauma surgery, and aesthetic surgery. Very quickly, I realized to be able to stay at the forefront of all of this, I had to bring it down to a few things that I was excellent at and just let go of the other ones. And that was rhinoplasty and facelift surgery, facial rejuvenation in general. In our world, now things are different. I have to tell you that most of our patients, despite this conversation, are completely grounded, normal individuals who are very happy with themselves, successful individuals who just have a little hump they want to remove, or they have a little bit of sign of jowling that they want to improve, and we do the surgery. Now, based on the advances in technology and advances in techniques and our own artistic understanding of the face and beauty, that's very, very important, we now get better results than we ever have. I was one of the first surgeons in the United States to bring ultrasonic rhinoplasty to this country. I learned the methods in Europe, in France, from one of the pioneers, and it allows us to no longer break the bones, to have the downtime, to be much more precise. Now, if you imagine that window we have over there, I can throw a rock into it and break that glass, which is the old school rhinoplasty, or I can use a glass cutter to precisely shape that glass, and the outcomes are not the same. And that allows for just a much more precise outcome. Much more better results. Same with facelifting. We do deep plane facelift surgery now. Different types, different approaches. The artistic vision of the surgeon is what matters. We are so focused on technique oftentimes that we forget that the operator matters too. If you buy a pair of scissors, I promise you that the hairstylist with that same scissors can do one thing, another hairstylist will do another thing. So it comes down to the artistic vision, to the technology, and to the technique, all three combined together. My practice, we're laser focused on rhinoplasty and facial plastic surgery, facial rejuvenation rather. So you do something over and over and over. I used this suture, it did this. I used this technique, it did this. You look at it self-critically, and you come down to, okay, now I need to improve that. I need to improve that, as opposed to, here and there doing a rhinoplasty and over time just repeating the same thing over and over. We evolve as opposed to repeat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, that was fascinating.
I love
It's
that.
a beautiful reminder that true aesthetic work is both an art and a science, and when done right, it uplifts the whole person. So kudos to that. Well, we are officially out of time. Thank you both so much for coming on today. I learned so much and a lot of transparency and insights in this conversation. And of course, educating moms and dads out there about what's safe for their kiddos is extremely important to me as a host. So thank you so much for helping me do that today.
Thank you, Zen.
Thank you.
To explore skincare rooted in science and self-respect, visit CO2Lift.com and definitely follow Lana at the Lana Kerr on social media and at CO2 Lift. And to learn more about Dr. Masoud Saman, you could approach the ethical bespoke facial surgery now with pride by following him on Instagram at Saman Plastic Surgery or at samanmd.com. That was the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, because healthy skin isn't just the beginning. Confidence is what we're really building. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to CO2lift.com.